Good afternoon. Before I really go into the detailed presentation, I think the earlier speakers have actually made my job much, much easier. I think if you work with this profile of customer, I don't think you can do anything different from what they are doing. So it's going to be almost something similar that you would see in the sense of how we approach the customer, what we do for them. I think anyone who's engaged in the agri-financing industry, I think in a way participates in the nation building, especially the countries that we're talking of, countries like India, etc., where the penetration of mechanization is so low, the credit reach is inadequate, and somebody who can participate in providing credit, I think plays a substantial role of building the nation. And we very strongly believe that that will happen if more and more players come into this. I don't think there is any competition by the name in an industry like this because it's a very, very large market with very limited players. And if I have to kind of put across as to what our business model is, you have the banking system, which has been there for the last 50, 60 or maybe more years. And then you have the money lenders who are on the other extreme end, who are very regional, local player. I think a finance entity like us will have to actually find the right space between the bank and the money lender. Not every customer wants to pay that kind of a high rate and go to a money lender. And not many customers are eligible to be able to fulfill the needs of a banking system, and therefore they don't get the desired support. I think that's a space we have found for ourselves. We hear of this word in the Indian context called the financial inclusion, which is reaching credit into the deeper pockets at an affordable price. I think more or less our business model is around that. And as a group, Mahindra & Mahindra, one of the largest group in India, is into many segments. They're not just into tractor financing, they're also into vehicle manufacturing and selling, they are into real estate businesses, they are into IT businesses, they are into holiday resorts, so they've got multiple businesses. So you will see us started off as a captive finance company and have moved substantially away from captive financing of not just doing the requirement for the parent products, but how well we have used the channel that we have built for doing many things more. Which is what when I was hearing Arvind when he said that currently we are very, very dependent Jain irrigation products, but over a period of time how the balance sheet will de-risk itself to 50%, others, etc. Except that I was fearing a question that was asked to say, why don't you do other products and things like that. I think, why do you create more confusion and competition for all of us? Let them do what they are doing happily, and we'll do what we're doing. But just one more clarification that I may want to offer in the whole thing is, the subject seems to be titled as leasing. In India, for retail, leasing is the most uneconomical product. Very, very tax inefficient. And actually, when different state level taxes, lease tax, service tax, various levels of taxes get included into that, the cost to the borrower actually substantially goes up. And therefore, a product like ours is nothing but a substitution to leasing very clearly, where the customer does pay a monthly installment, but he owns the asset from day one, and which is actually a substantial comfort to a customer. In a retail customer, especially the farmer community or somebody who puts in his initial equity of 25, 30%, and you have to tell him that he will not own the asset, it will be owned by a leasing company, I think it's a non-starter program. He would not want to put his 25% and fear that, because these are all such products which are so cash flow dependent, which are so kind of circumstantial dependent. A poor monsoon may delay his repayment, and he will always run this fear of losing the asset. And he would actually not want a leasing product. So kindly look at it as something very equivalent to leasing. There's another inefficiency in India on the leasing is, there's a very clear difference between financial lease and operating lease. And in a financial lease, the finance company, even though they claim the depreciation, they don't get the tax benefit. The tax authorities don't accept it because they say it's nothing but another financial product or a loan product just called leasing. And therefore, leasing is not kind of a prevalent product there. And therefore, look at this model, more or less, in terms of operations, it's exactly the same, except that the ownership is with the owner of the equipment is with the borrower of the loan and not with the company which is lending the loan. So I'll quickly take you through on what exactly we do. This is the profile of customer that's available there to be financed. And if you kind of look at it, we are not there in the high end. And which is where I said the nationalized banks or the banking system is able to participate in. And those are the profile of customers who are able to bring in the required documents. They are able to borrow at a very, very competitive rate. And we therefore do not want to be participating in that segment. We've chosen for ourselves to be the segment which is the next two level of segment. And one must remember here that if a finance provider cannot expand the market, I think is no role to play. I don't think the finance provider should just be participating in what a manufacturer can sell. I think the role of a finance provider is how do you take this product as an enabler to more deeper pockets to more customer and can actually expand the market. And that's the role we've played, and that's why we moved not just being a captive, but we are much more than a captive as we speak. Typically look at the profile, what is their overall holding of the land acreage, what is the application. It's very interesting to understand, tractor to be understood as a farm equipment, but 40% of the cash flow upward actually comes from haulage application. They actually carry material, they attach trailers to that, they attach a small excavating unit to it. So in the non-farm period, they actually also use it for alternate application. And I think that's a cash flow which one needs to keep in mind when you're actually taking a credit decision for a farmer. It's not just farm application, but it has a risk attached to it. As a pure farm application product, the life of the equipment could be 8 to 10 years. But when it's put to a haulage application, especially 40%, I think it depreciates much, much faster. And therefore, the life of the equipment is half the life that otherwise originally projected. So when you design a product for a customer, it is absolutely necessary to factor the application of the product and therefore decide what's the period of the loan that one must look at. And possibly that's one of the reasons why certain banks do not have adequate collateral banking. They don't have the backing of the collateral because they've lent for 8 and 9 years, whereas the product is already replaced in 4 or 5 years because of its application. Right? In terms of the habits of the customer, the profile that I kind of showed you between the mid and the bottom, many of them are the first-time borrower. So we actually are making them credit-worthy. Now, they don't have a financial statement to back up their credit capability. Therefore, we need to plot their cash flow. You need to understand their cash flow and therefore lend to them on the strength of that cash flow. But the truth of this business is it's collateral-backed lending. It's not on the strength of their existing financial capability. It's built on the collateral capability. And therefore, at any point of time, the collateral must be able to protect the principal outstanding. And that's the relationship that one needs to keep in mind when you design the loan to asset value, the period for which you lend. It's not as much dependent on what's your capability to borrow from the banking system while lending. It's the capability of the borrower to be able to service the loan and retain the collateral in an absolute manner whereby the principal loan is protected by the collateral. The profile, we just went through that. Repayment, again, we saw it almost in all presentation. The repayment is linked to crop. Therefore, they have an half-yearly repayment. They have an annual repayment requirement. They have a monthly repayment requirement. And as I said, the application of the product is, again, an essential factor when you start looking at what kind of a structured repayment do you want to offer. If it's being used for an haulage application where there's a monthly cash flow coming in, there's no point in offering a quarterly or a half-yearly installment payments because the excess cash available would get diverted for alternate use. And thereby becomes a defaulter is need to be protected when we kind of structure product. And very, very importantly, if you kind of look at the repayment track record of the customer, we've always felt that even those levels of customer, the mid or the bottom customers, who are willing to put efforts for making a livelihood out of this product. It's very, very important to understand that these products are livelihood product because it earns additional cash flow for the family and therefore they do meet many of their aspirational requirement through these earnings, and which is why the intention to repay is always at its best. And the failure could be circumstantial and very limited to extent of intention. Here FES would mean the farm equipment sector. Clearly the customer segment, as I said, they are in farming and hiring and contract segment. Now, just to differentiate between farming and hiring and contract segment, the contract segment is those who are purely engaging this product only for contracting segment, not using it for farm at all. And their requirements are very different from somebody who is kind of using it as a multiple use, and there will be a pressure on rate at which a contracting segment want to borrow versus a farm segment willing to pay a little higher rate, and the loan period for which a contracting segment want would be different, and the quantum of loan required would be different. The contracting segment typically looks at this equipment equal to an excavator, and therefore he would want a 5-year loan and want a 100% loan requirement. And again, one more understanding over a period of time, unless the borrower's interest in an equipment like this is at least to the extent of 20 or 25%, I think the chances of he being a successful repaying customer is very limited. Because he then tries to misuse the product in the shortest possible time and earn maximum bonus for him. And then what is left behind as a collateral does not protect the principal. So therefore, at any point of time, there is a requirement that the borrower must have adequate invested interest in the product. What does Mahindra Finance typically do is really participate in the farming, hiring, and the contracting segment. We saw it in the earlier slide. The farming as a particular segment is not a very exciting segment from our perspective because they do have already enough bank loans or a banking habit, and they look for a very, very fine rate, and they would look for high quantum of finance, and that's not the area that we want to operate in. Another understanding of this business is it has to be built bottom up. You have to surely decide what's the minimum return you want to make out of a business like this. And the risk and cost has to be factored to the customer. At the end of the day, they are all earn and repay models, and therefore, unless all risk and cost is passed on to the customer, he will not price it to the ultimate customer. It's not out of his already earnings that he is repaying you. He's going to generate cash flow out of this product, and therefore, it has this capability to be able to factor both the risk and cost, and unless the risk and cost is adequately factored in the pricing, I think one may end up not being able to survive this business for longer. And it's not about, just you're a captive finance company, and it's not about financing a parent product. I think it's to be independently looked at as a possible and sustainable long-term business model. And that's exactly what we've done in the space between 95 that we started our operation to the time that we're speaking. I'll kind of talk of some numbers a little later. Again, I don't want to really take too much of your time on the credit assessment. We heard enough of what the other speakers said about it. Exactly the same approach. Meet the customer, understand his cash flow, look at the trends in the market, create your own matrix, and take a credit decision for the customer. So if you kind of look at us today, over a period of time that we have operated, we typically finance in a year about 10,000 tractors. We are one of the largest tractor financier. Even though we started off financing only the Mahindra tractors, to our good luck, Mahindra acquired another brand called Swaraj. And together, Mahindra and Swaraj actually controls upward of 45% of the market share. And we finance that product. And apart from that, we also participate in many more products that get sold in that segment. And today, we finance close to about 10,000 tractors. And we are the largest tractor financier. And over a period of time that we have serviced this industry, we've been able to create a matrix for ourselves as to for what kind of an acreage, what kind of a cash flow, what kind of a crop in what kind of a geography. In case of a crop failure, what is the kind of risk that you run through? And therefore, that matrix has been internally developed, and that's a matrix that's used for taking a credit decision. Again, going back to what we started off with, application of the product is the key to success of this business model. One should not go by the definition of the product called tractor and therefore farm being automatic. One has to for sure know that this product being bought by that individual is for what kind of an application, and therefore there must be a capability to design a financial product that suits that application very, very clearly. And also very important is these are customers where you need to have references locally. They do not have financial statements to back up their credit capability, and therefore a long-term existence into the market with a large customer base who can be used as your reference point for considering credit providing to this new set of customers is going to decide the success of this business model. Channel building, again, very, very important. Also, one must understand this type of customers or this level of customers are willing to travel hundreds of miles to come and borrow. do they have the same intention to travel that distance to come and repay? Because in India, the entire earnings of the farming community is cash earnings. They are not taxed, therefore every transaction is a cash. When I say cash, the currency transaction, they don't use the banking system. And therefore the monthly installments that they repay are also in physical cash. So you need to build a very, very vast, strong, localized channel which is close to the customer. You need to visit the customer to be able to recover your installments, one. Two, you must have enough control systems put in place to be able to control that kind of a recovery. Three, you need to build a very large banking system for yourselves from where you will be depositing the cash that you collect, so that that money gets reused into the system much faster. Otherwise, there is a revenue leakage that happens in handling this transaction. So they are all very high cost models in terms of physical presence, physical handling. While technology is not really a credit decision point, technology is actually used to control. And in its next level of technology implications, it will actually bring down the transaction cost, and that's where the additional margins can be made out of the same transaction. Clearly, de-risking, as I said, we started off as a captive finance company. Over a period of time, we have moved to become just 45% of the balance sheet today comes from the Mahindra range of product, and 55% of the balance sheet comes from non-Mahindra range of product. And for a period of last 15 years, we have had a compounded growth of upward of 30%. Started off as a subsidiary to Mahindra & Mahindra, and in 2006, this is a listed entity now, and it has a market cap of upward of $2 billion, and the shareholding is 51% by Mahindra, and the 49% is wildly held by various FIIs and individuals. So it's a listed entity, and therefore it's completely moved away from just being a captive. But not to mean that moving away from captive means not doing enough for them, no. We still have the highest market share, but we for ourselves, from a de-risking perspective, do also have put in an internal control that any point of time, we will not want to finance more than 40% of the parent sales. If they sell 100 tractors, we will do only 40 tractors. So this is a de-risking that we have undertaken internally, so that they look for more financiers to sell the product, and we look for more products to grow the balance sheet. That's the way we have de-risked ourselves, and that's got us the best respect from the market out there. We have a AAA rated by CRISIL, which is Standard & Poor equivalent, and therefore the rating is at its best. We have a retail deposit accepting license from the Reserve Bank of India. So we kind of, even though we are a non-banking finance company, but we have a deposit accepting capability, retail deposit acceptance. And more importantly, when we work in a single product, we virtually work with single profile of customer and largely dependent on the market circumstances arising out of that. And that sometimes due to circumstantial reasons, let's say poor monsoon or a poor yield or a poor support price from the government, actually pushes up the non-performing asset levels to a very, very high level when you work with single profile. Having done this adequately, moved into every profile of customer, almost every product that gets sold, the control on the non-performing is substantially low. Multiple cash flow helps the balance sheet, and the entire profile of the customer base has undergone change, and you're actually insulated from the seasonal impacts. And that's what has helped maintain this 30% growth of the balance sheet year on year. Again, the geographical de-risking exactly in the same direction. Started off very north-based, moved to south, moved to west, moved to east, and today we are kind of present across the country. I think there are some charts which are coming to represent that. And clearly, again, from a customer profile, from an earn and pay customer to a cash flow based customers and to different profile of customer, and that's helped the de-risking. Just one additional point here, having done the vehicle business, tractor business adequately and large size there, we've also have a subsidiary which is participating in the rural housing venture. Now, the rural housing venture is not really a mortgage loan of a type of the whole construction, but they are room expansion, room addition. It's actually a renovation loan where the loan size is pretty small. It's about 150,000 Indian rupee. Right? So it's a very, very small loan, but very interestingly, in that venture, the regulator has taken a 12.5% stake. So it's co-promoted by a regulator because of the financial inclusion nature that it takes this product to the rural market and fulfills that additional requirement of their geography. Clearly, these are the various products. I don't want to spend too much time. We saw it in the earlier slide. Today, we are a whole range player from vehicles to tractors to second-hand vehicles to excavators to all products. So our approach, what started off as a product company, moved to geography as the approach, then moved to customer as the approach. Today, we reach out to that customer and fulfill his requirement of credit as he wants it. We are present today in 170,000 villages of the country, and we have 600,000 villages in the country. Give and take about 30-40% of them may not be commercially, economically viable to be participating. We still have in 170, I think we have a long way to go if we have to cover another 170,000 villages. That's the approach, and the entire product designing is customer-based and no more product-based. We have a channel, we have serviced so far 2.5 million customers over the period of time. So we built in a direct marketing initiative where we reach out to our existing customer and through the existing customer actually generate more sales. Not that the existing customer is given another loan. He may not be ready for a second loan. But in the same village, using him as the ambassador, he is able to give us more inquiry. And we actually are doing 20% of our monthly volumes are self-generated by us. That brings down the entire cost of operations. It actually de-risks ourselves because we are being referred to by a customer through an existing good customer. And in the context of rural India, the existing customer is also willing to give guarantee to a referred customer. So the entire risk comes down, the cost of acquisition comes down, and which is where the margin protection is intact. Technology I talked about, it's more as a control mechanism, but at the end of the day, if I don't think customers will forever pay for our inefficiency. We need to keep focusing on technology, bring down the transaction cost, and also use it to enhance controls as you go more deeper and go more wider. I think technology will really play the controlling role. It's people-driven business. A lot of resources have to be invested in people capability development, and retention of people will actually determine the success of the business model because people go to the street, meet the customer, take credit decision, and have to service the loans. Therefore, retention of people is going to be the key. And of course, like any other businesses, we have to keep revisiting the process with the changing time and keep tightening that norm to say how well can we control this business by changing the processes based on experience. And of course, growing the network will be the key. This is what I said, how we've grown across the country. Today, we are a pan-India company, present across the country in all geographies, almost uniform in terms of business distribution, but purely by the population size of each of the geography, the number of branches as may be required would be higher. But in terms of percentage or a market share of business that comes to us from each of this geography is almost pretty uniform, which has been achieved over a period of time. This I've spent time already with you. Just to give you some example, this is in Indian rupee, but if you were to it's a little dangerous to divide it by the current price. So we would as well live it with rupee, When we started off, we started with 50 rupees. As I speak 60, and I'll be making a mistake if I term it in dollar terms. But just to kind of make a point that they are not very large ticket size loans, and therefore the transaction costs are high, and they have to be managed well by volumes and by productivity of people and by control of the transaction cost. But very interestingly, as I said, unless there is an adequate invested interest of the borrower, this business could fail. One should not get into growth of the balance sheet by increasing the LTV. Like when you lend 75% loan, there will always be an itching urgency to grow the balance sheet by increasing the loan to 90% of the asset value. The balance sheet would grow 15% next year, but I think it starts showing its color 2 years later when he's not able to service the loan at that level of EMI. So I think the fundamental control to this business always is going to be controlling the LTV, but more importantly, on the liability side, never to run an asset liability mismatch. If you got a 3-year loan, try and borrow for 3 years. Don't borrow a 6 months loan because the interest rates are low and lend it to a 3-year, imagining in the next correction of liability, you'll make more money through treasury transactions. These are pure asset lending businesses where the ALM match is going to determine the success of the business model. As we speak, if we see India story today, 6-7 months before, all of us were talking of interest rates likely to come down. And if all of us had borrowed short, it would have so happened that in this round, when we correct liability, we would be paying a much higher interest cost. I think good sense had to prevail to say we are not treasury companies, we are asset financing companies. ALM Match will decide the profits of these organizations. This I've talked about. This is how we have maintained our growth. And this chart, if you take it back to even 10 years before, we have maintained a 30% CAGR year on year. Highly profitable, large size, less competitive, enough opportunity business. And more players, most welcome, for simple reason that the credit reach to this market is very minimal, and the credit availability will actually determine the size of the market and expansion opportunity for this market. Don't want to spend too much time on the financials. This is what we've financed so far as number of tractors as units. We have an experience of 525,000 units, and in Indian rupee, this is the size. And that's our experience of tractor financing, which has helped us retain the leadership position, not just as an NBFC, but also has helped maintain the leadership position for the manufacturing companies who sell tractors. And I think we have built a model where, as an enabler, we are being now asked to finance many more products, including the second-hand tractors. And we do believe that pre-owned tractor market is another growing opportunity, that because not everybody wants a new tractor, especially who have a small land holding. You know, we talked about land holding being small, may not give an opportunity to invest on a new tractor. Therefore, if second-hand tractors or a pre-owned tractors is offered financing, there is a transaction that's possible, and the second-hand tractor can be then replaced by a new purchase. And that's the new opportunity, or an exchange opportunity, which can expand the market and a new business for us. I guess with that, I've almost come to end of it. I think very importantly, we don't just provide credit to the farmers or the customer. I think we try and meet his aspiration. And that's where we are. And we think that if done well, this is a very, very large opportunity, and I believe it's just beginning to happen. While as a number for our balance sheet, it may look large, but once you superimpose this on the opportunity size, I think one can see how large that opportunity is and how limited the players available there are. And that's been the government program, that's been the regulators program to generate financial inclusion interest in every credit provider. They're trying to force bankers to reach that market, but I think it requires passion and determination and a long-term play as a strategy if you have to make it a success. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I thought this was our little story on how we have grown this business. Just one last line from a very, very rural finance company. We have one joint venture in the US market, and we have a joint venture with Rabobank subsidiary called AgriCredit, where Mahindra sells about 10,000 tractors a year, and we have a 60% penetration on that. We are a 49% joint venture partner, 51 with Rabobank, but it's called Mahindra Finance USA, and it's profitable from year one that we are in operations. Thank you very much.